the studio where I was hanging out.
He loves a hot C.
He does. He's a big hot chocolate guy. And I was just sitting out there doing some post-show stuff. And for those that don't know Homer, Steve the Homer Tree, 70 years old, voice of Marquette basketball on ESPN Milwaukee. He's an absolute sports media legend. Been doing it for decades and decades in the Milwaukee area. He's a total legend. But he is a huge personality. Joshy, I was legitimately frightened by Homer. Will, I didn't even tell you about this.
Is it the paper towel debacle?
It's the paper towel debacle. He was looking for paper towel, couldn't find any. We're out. And our office administrator is on vacation this week, so nobody's reloading paper towel.
Yep.
He starts screaming at the top of his lungs in my direction, but also just like overall about how you think the one thing we have in line around here is paper towels. And Homer's just screaming at the top of his lungs about freaking paper towels. I said, Homer, how much hot chocolate did you spill? And he said, just a little bit. I said, how about some toilet paper, bud?
Yeah.
He said, oh, you're right. I'll use toilet paper. Went in the bathroom, grabbed some toilet paper, walked in the studio, didn't see him again.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have a hair trigger. There's also, in that same bathroom, I believe there's also, if you were to look, you would be able to find like the single-use paper towels, the ones that are folded like you would see typically in a bathroom.
Sure.
I believe those also would have been an option.
Well, it's Homer. I mean, what do you expect?
The unseen part of this, too, is that he brought that onto the show, and we went from talking about that, the pillars of our company, to the National Honor Society, and then ended it with how the MLB Hall of Fame should determine who gets into it. Like, that all evolved from the paper towel debacle.
What did he have to say on the air about it? Did he say, I lost my absolute mind because I couldn't find paper towel?
Yes, and he said, I believe, this is not a direct quote, that there's 100-plus people working here, and we can't have paper towels.
I mean, good take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the guy who is in the office for an hour and 4 minutes a day gets to make a lot of claims about how things run.
That part also fair. All right. Well,
I mean, he's out of the office actually probably before the end of his show. We end at 57:50.
Yeah, he's not in the office at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so 6 strikes, he's gone. So maybe an hour a day will give him.
He's usually here by 4:45.
You sure?
I'm positive, yeah.
Because a lot of times I see him sit down at 6:01.
5:01.
Sorry.
I hear you either way.
Yes.
Yeah, he usually sits in the last segment for KBN.
Nice of him.
Yeah. Nope, we don't invite him in. He just shows up.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just how that goes. So I will be headed to the Potawatomi Sportsbook after this for Kyle Bruston-Nortman. Will has graciously agreed to fill in and produce the show on my behalf today.
He didn't agree to that. He was told to do that.
No, that's not true. Will, I asked you.
You didn't ask, but I was asked by an upper management.
Yeah, when your boss asks you to do something, do you think that's just a request?
Who is your boss? Is it Ashton?
Ashton.
How's that?
It's good. We have a good relationship.
Who's your
Talk
boss?
some ball.
Ashton.
Why do we have... Wait, I'm confused now. He's technically not my boss. How's that work?
I don't know. I've never bothered to inquire.
He might just not want to deal with you.
That and I'm not even joking when I say that is certainly possible.
Yeah, he figures he's got me already, so adding you to it would be too much.
That's a lot. You're right. Between the two of us, you're kind of a pain in the ass.
I'm the least pain in the ass here, probably.
That's actually probably
true.
I'm probably down. I know I come up there as high maintenance. I don't think I'm high maintenance.
You're high maintenance.
Why? How?
You've got a lot of ideas, a lot of things to say.
That's true.
You are not a mind your own business guy.
What's that supposed to mean?
You got a lot of things to say, a lot of opinions to be heard, a lot of takes.
About what?
Oh, everything.
That doesn't sound like a bad thing, though.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is that a bad thing?
I think if you're a manager and you're like, oh, here comes Strouf for the 4th time today, that can get a little old.
But here's the thing. You don't manage me. Obviously, you don't manage anybody. No. Neither do I, and that's good.
Yeah.
Right? That's a good thing that neither of us manage people.
I've been asked, do you see yourself as a manager? I said, probably not.
Probably not a good idea for you. It'd be a better idea for you than me, but that's another conversation. Although I think I pepper you with the most questions.
Yes. Well, maybe what I'm doing is applying what I experienced to what I imagine Brian experiences.
Sure.
And maybe that's why. Maybe I'm off. Maybe you just bring most of that to me, and then after you decide maybe I should take this further, and maybe that's how that goes. I don't know.
It's fair.
But you're a little pesty.
I am a little pesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, fair.
I couldn't think of a better word. Not in a bad way, though. You need some pests in your life.
But here's the thing. Will, I think, comes from a place of he genuinely likes me. Like, I don't think Will has any disdain for me. Joshy, I cannot speak for. He might have a little disdain for me. But
I think you got to have a little healthy disdain for everyone.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing.
You got to balance the scales.
You know me. I love people. I really don't hold disdain for anybody unless you've wronged me in the past.
Yeah, not...
If you've never crossed me in any way, shape, or form, I have nothing bad to say about you. Except maybe you, but you're an exception because you're the worst.
I've got a mental file on everyone.
I don't want to know about that. Can you pick up my file for a moment?
Sure.
Any things that stick out where you're like, that was the moment that changed my perception of Alex W. Strouf?
No, not specifically. There's just, things of character, things that I realize, file in there. And that it's much like with Ben Brust. When I didn't get the invite to his wedding, it was very easy for me to comprehend why. There are ways to categorize people in your brain of, oh, that's how that person is, and that's how I should evaluate their decisions. I'm not going to be offended by those decisions. It just helps me understand them.
So sticking with me.
Yeah.
Is there a way I operate that is just your understanding of me?
Yeah. How's a good way to say
No, it doesn't need to be good. Just say it.
Here if I were to boil it down into a few things. 1, ego.
Sure.
2, energy.
Sure.
3, pest.
I think I can live with all those. Not the first time I've heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone has an ego to be in this business. We're putting ourselves in front of microphones, in front of cameras, so everyone has a healthy amount of ego. But when you look at things, you can it helps you understand if someone does something. You go, well, that's annoying. And you go, well, X, Y, Z, like Jesse Nelson, for example. Once I figured out he was an only child, everything about him made sense to me.
Correct. Yes.
Every single thing that he does, I then can go, oh yeah, well, I get that. Like he was appalled. Zach Showalter was at work for the first day of the March Madness tournament, and I said in a text message, well, Zach Showalter hasn't played in the Badgers in over 10 years. Them playing is not about him. I know to you would make it about you, but it is not about him, and he understands that. So he goes to work and lives his life.
Yep.
Because he's got a life.
Right.
He's a Badger, always will be a Badger, and wants him to do well. But it's not about him.
It's not worthy of a PTO day.
Right. He doesn't have to make a deal of the game happening. The game is going to happen with Zach Showalter or not, and he understands that.
Fair. All right, well, that was good. Thank you for breaking me down for a moment. I don't know if I feel better about myself by any means, but it was good.
It's certainly nothing to feel worse about yourself.
Okay.
I would certainly classify as that.
Oh, well, I would just throw out that it's typically not a good thing if you ask somebody how they feel about you and the word they lead with is ego.
Well, Strouf loves some Strouf. You admit to it readily.
I do love me some me. Yeah. I think I'm a freaking genius. So,
whereas me, I have a little more self-disdain.
Are you? Well, yeah. I'm probably my own biggest critic, but again, I think that's normal
to some degree. Yeah. But the idea of imposter syndrome, I don't think could ever cross your mind. You'd be like, yeah, of course I'm calling the Super Bowl. Yeah, duh.
Okay, now that's an example where I would say you're right. But it is something. Wow, we're getting really deep on Friday. It is something like my ultimate. I had this conversation recently with my manager. Here's how my one-on-ones go. Oh boy.
Yeah. Tread carefully, I think.
No, we're okay. Well, we were talking about like what drives you, right? Which I think is a normal conversation to have at work. And imposter syndrome is kind of my answer. Because it's like I didn't play in a Super Bowl. I didn't play collegiate athletics, obviously, as we've really learned in the last month.
You made that abundantly clear.
That's correct. So it's like, why am I here, right? Whoa, what's wrong?
A Baylor player just tried to dunk the ball, and it touched ground past half court the other way because he missed. He hit back rim. It went over half court to be fielded by his teammate.
Yikes.
It would have been a sweet dunk. He just missed.
All right. Well, fair enough. So anyway, the NCAA tournament action continues. Badgers get a win yesterday. We'll dive into that in a bit.
You lost on the imposter syndrome. That's what fuels you?
I want to prove I belong, yeah. So maybe that's where the ego comes in.
See, because I feel like you just roll up, and maybe it's means good job by you, and you just think, yeah, duh. This is what I do.
I think that's also just me being dumb.
Not the most self-reflective in those moments is what you're saying.
No, definitely not. No.
Maybe in the lead up or in the post go, wow, that was crazy.
Yes.
But in the moment, you're
no, this is what I do. Like, this is where I thrive, right? Like,
it's about time I was elected president.
Yeah. It's good thing we kicked old Jim Nance off of the Masters broadcast. Getting old.
That's good. All right. Wow. That was the most reflective segment we've ever done on the show. And to be real honest with you, I loved it. Let's get to this now. The big news of the day, just coming out within the last hour, as Adam Schefter and multiple other people report. Aaron Rodgers is visiting with the Pittsburgh Steelers today. And that is Rodgers' first official visit with the team. Right, he's been off wandering on the beach lines of the United States and other countries wearing a blanket while he reflects on where or when he will sign somewhere if Rodgers is going to continue playing in his 41-year-old season after 2 abysmal years with the New York Jets. Rodgers visiting with Mike Tomlin and the Steelers today, which I think we've said for a couple weeks now, seems like the best fit for him. Unless the Vikings were to come calling. But it's become completely evident the Vikings want nothing to do with the Aaron Rodgers debacle, which has been just that, a debacle since he's left Green Bay. Speaking of ego, Joshy, talk about Aaron Rodgers, a guy that enters a room and believes he is the smartest guy in the room. When he got to New York, he wanted to have a hand in personnel decisions and who they would bring in. He wanted to make sure the coaching staff was a staff he got along with, a la Nathaniel Hackett, who went from Green Bay, became the head coach in Denver for 1 year, and then wound up back in New York with his buddy Aaron Rodgers. And it didn't work because Aaron Rodgers is not a general manager. He is an aging quarterback. That's not to say Rodgers can't be effective and have some good games left in his system, right? Like, I still think there is a little bit of tread left on those tires when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to be MVP Aaron Rodgers? The odds of that are very slim. But can he be a functional quarterback within a solid team and a solid foundation, right? Where Pittsburgh is, they win 8-9 games every year minimum. I think so. So this seems like the best fit for Rodgers as long as he is ready to be pushed and not run a team, because that is Mike Tomlin's team and nobody else's, as Rodgers officially visits with the Steelers today. It's always good to talk with Aaron Rodgers' biggest fan, in JOSHY DiMaggio. Do you care?
No, because I think the floor for what Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers will accomplish is probably higher than the Jets, just because of institutional stability and security. I believe Mike Tomlin is the longest tenured head coach.
That is correct.
His job is not going to be dependent on how Aaron Rodgers performs and how the team performs. Like, they're not going to fire him if that goes poorly there. I don't think, and this isn't just me being a hater, oh, he sucks. I don't think the marriage of him and Arthur Smith is going to go well. Arthur Smith famously in Atlanta wouldn't use the number 4 overall pick in Kyle Pitts, didn't throw the ball to Drake London, and instead of giving the ball to Bijan Robinson, one of the most physically gifted young running backs in the league, made sure to get Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson the ball in place of him. Arthur Smith brought Cordell Patterson to the Steelers. They also have packages for Kelvin Austin to touch the ball.
I actually kind of like him, but that's a different story.
He is a fine role player. Good, I feel like, is too far. He's a fine role player.
Yes, okay, I agree with that.
So I don't think that marriage of how they want to run an offense is going to go well. I think they're going to butt heads in meetings a lot, and I can guarantee you Aaron Rodgers will be barking at Arthur Smith from the field if he ends up there, and he will make not so subtle shots at them if their offense does not perform up to snuff. It will be just because of Arthur Smith. And then to take it further, DK Metcalf and George Pickens are as if you were to build the two guys who would be the exact wide receivers he would struggle to play with. Neither one of those guys are crisp route runners. Neither one of those guys are known for being typically level-headed. They win in specific ways, and it's effective the way they win, but they're big, they're fast, and they bully smaller corners, and they go up and win the ball. Now, Aaron Rodgers can still huck it, so maybe he'll have some more success on deep throws and stuff along the sidelines. But if you remember how Aaron Rodgers succeeded in Green Bay, it was precision. The Jordy Nelson back shoulder throw was the quintessential, there's one person on the field who can catch it, and it's the guy who ends up catching it. Those guys aren't going to be able to function that way. They aren't going to be, when he is in pressure and has to escape the pocket, they aren't going to go to the right places. They also are going to make mistakes when it's choice routes, because that's just who those guys are. They're not Devontae Adams polished. They are not the type of guys that Aaron Rodgers typically has really even ever played with. Like, there is no real comp for them, because even James Jones, limited, but he was known for being exactly where he needed to be at all times. Same thing with Randall Cobb. There was totally, always and
polish is a good word.
Yeah, it's a polished way of playing the game. And if there was 5 years of Aaron Rodgers, George Pickens, and DK Metcalf, I bet they could get to a good point. But he's going to skip minicamp, or he's going to be half in, half out. He's going to do the Aaron Rodgers stuff. And then he's going to show up and say, we're going to be great because I'm still great. And I don't think that's a recipe for success.
I don't either. And I just don't think he gives you that
They could be
anymore.
a playoff team.
They certainly could be. And they were a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not counting that out. It's a much more stable situation.
Yes.
You used the word stability at the beginning. It's obviously a much more stable situation than he ever walked into in New York. That offense is much more capable than the New York offense ever was, even when they had Devontae Adams. So
but even then, if you were to pluck the pieces, aside from the offensive line probably, but pluck the skill players, the Jets skill players, I think, are better suited for Aaron Rodgers' style of play.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, it's certainly a toss-up, right? Because they had weapons. There's no denying.
Breece Hall is better than any running back they're going to have there.
Yep, agreed.
Garrett Wilson, I think, is better than both of those wide receivers also, and he is more of a talented route runner, even though Aaron Rodgers had issues with him at various times, namely like refusing to target him in the red zone for whatever reason. There's a lot of factors here that I think Aaron Rodgers, and this comes with being a no doubt Hall of Famer. You think your presence will merely raise everyone else up to you, and you'd think what happened post Devontae Adams would be a good indication of, this probably isn't the point I'm at in my career anymore. I'm not the guy who can take MVS and make him a somewhat valuable talent. I'm now sort of a guy who needs the perfect surroundings to achieve at the highest level.
It's fair.
Like, the Niners would make a lot more sense, and I understand the Viking stuff.
Niners, I don't know. You understand the Viking stuff from the perspective of they don't want him, or why he wants to go
Why
there?
he wants to go
No,
there.
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very safe situation.
Yes.
Right?
It's good offensive play caller. It's good. Not only is the play caller good at like designing offense, actually, but he's also good working with quarterbacks. So if there's anybody who could get the most out of him, I think Kevin O'Connell would be one of the first guys I chose.
Let's not forget Kevin O'Connell was a quarterback, right? I mean, he was a quarterback, so he gets that position.
And that defense, you could make a case for being. You can question how great they are. But
I think they've improved this offseason.
They also take advantage. They are aggressive. They create turnovers and they create short fields, and like that's the type of thing that would work in Aaron Rodgers' advantage.
I would agree.
Which you could say the same thing for the Steelers. It feels like the Steelers' defense is just between good and great at all times.
Yes.
Like, I don't remember of a Steelers defense where I was like, nah,
they stink.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you could put 40 points on them, no problem, right? It's just not the case with Tomlin and company. Yeah, I mean, I get why Rodgers would want to go to the Vikings. It makes the most sense of a team that is quarterback needy, even though they don't view themselves as quarterback needy,
Right.
especially to the point of Aaron Rodgers quarterback needy. They'd rather just roll with J.J. McCarthy than have the headaches and distractions that naturally comes with Aaron Rodgers. Pittsburgh is a place where maybe players with not the greatest character have gone and succeeded. And that's where Aaron Rodgers, not to compare him to anybody else that's been there, but Aaron Rodgers obviously is a lot. There's an ego. There is a, like I mentioned earlier, he is the smartest guy in the room in any room he walks into. I think there is a point where Mike Tomlin believes he could get more out of Rodgers than we've seen in several years. He is a total alpha, and he runs that team. That is Mike Tomlin's team. There is zero questions about that team's identity. When Rodgers and LaFleur were in Green Bay together, I think there were questions from the outside of, well, whose team is it? Is that LaFleur's team or is it Rodgers' team? And when Rodgers got the boot, it was very clearly Matt LaFleur's team, and it has been since. When he was in New York, whose team was it? Was it Robert Saleh's? Probably not.
No.
It was Aaron Rodgers' team.
Yep.
And it didn't work. So he needs to go to a place where it's not Aaron Rodgers' team. It's Mike Tomlin's team. And I think that would work for them. And to your point, I think that's good enough to be a playoff team. I'm not throwing them in the championship conversation with an addition of Aaron Rodgers.
I think their ceiling is the same exact one as the Jets. Maybe you win a wild card round game.
Right.
And is that enough for Aaron to feel satisfied with his time with that team? I don't think so. I think his expectation is he needs to at least get back to a Super Bowl for him to feel fulfilled.
And that's not going to happen.
No, and
no matter where he goes.
And it is just is what it is at this point. I have a hard time seeing the Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin marriage going as well as it probably should. I don't know if he'll humble himself. I don't know if, like, Mike Tomlin won't hesitate to criticize his own guys.
No, he will not.
And I don't know how Aaron Rodgers is going to take that. If he says, well, Aaron made a mistake on X, Y, and Z, or our quarterback play wasn't good enough today, or our offense wasn't good enough. Like, Matt LaFleur went to great lengths to avoid criticizing Aaron Rodgers, even when it was due. Went to great lengths to first blame himself, which he still does.
Yeah, that's just him, though.
Yeah. But and it was very obvious with the coaches, the coordinators, and the players. Everyone got the message. It's everyone else's fault but Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think that is going to exist with where he is in his career and the place he most likely is going to end up playing.
Yeah, I fully agree. All right, well said there. We will keep an eye on Rodgers' watch, which I imagine, even with the visit to Pittsburgh today, is not anywhere near an end.
Nah, well, no, because he's got to announce it on McAfee first. So even if they have a deal.
I was going to say, we've been talking about Rodgers for about 10 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And JOSHY really hadn't taken that big of a shot at him.
No, I mean, it feels like we've been talking about him the way he wants, what he desires for a long time. I thought everything to do with Minnesota and the idea that Minnesota was actually considering him, I think, has been a great lie told by his agents.
I tend to agree.
I don't think they ever once considered him. I think the idea that they were tabling conversations was his agent leveraging for the most amount of money.
Yeah.
It's been JJ or bust there since they decided.
Since they drafted him.
Right.
Because let's keep in mind, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the week with you, JOSHY, and I know you know this, but people might forget that Sam Darnold was not their plan A.
No, he was supposed to be a plus option at backup.
Yes, he was supposed to be a veteran guy who could mentor a guy that was drafted in the first round like he was.
And maybe start the season if needed.
Maybe. But I don't even think that was
indications from all the credible people around Minnesota made it seem like it was JJ's job, and he would have to perform in like the mini camps, the rookie camps, and training camp pretty poorly to not get it, which is certainly possible. I mean, the guy hasn't played a football snap in what's going on now 2 years, so there's going to be some element to rust just involved of, hey, we're playing live football again.
Yeah.
That Hard Knocks, though, if Rodgers goes to the Steelers with Pickens, DK, and Mike Tomlin, that might win an Emmy.
It's going to be an adventure.
That would be an Emmy.
They're not eligible, though, because did they make the playoffs?
They did.
Yeah. So it has to be 2 years, no playoffs.
2 years, new playoffs, and non-first-year head coach.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what your options are this offseason, if there's any good ones.
No, you can't really tap the Giants again.
Can't do the Bears again.
Could go Cardinals, I guess.
Duval.
New head coach.
New head coach.
I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Well, it was a fair spot
You could
to
do
it.
Cleveland.
Miami?
Yeah.
Cleveland?
Miami made the playoffs last year, 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Remember, they were one and done. They were the biggest fraud. They were the fraud team entering. Everyone goes, well, this is one and done for sure.
Seattle?
New head coach. No, he's second year. When did they make the playoffs last? Was it 2 years ago?
3 years ago. No, because Pete Carroll. I don't think they fired him. I think they mutually agreed to end the relationship. Same thing with Bill Belichick, though, where it was like, all right, we're done here.
We don't want to say the mean words, but you're fired.
Correct. So we're going to have a co-press conference to talk about why you're stepping down.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm not a big Hard Knocks guy. I was so locked in on the Rodgers Jets Hard Knocks.
I was at a time. I lost. Well, the most interesting thing that came out of the Jets version of Hard Knocks was how clear it was that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets had say on what was put out and how it was put out. Aaron Rodgers was saying stuff on Hard Knocks about how it was going to be shown before it even made it onto TV. Now, why would that, Brian Windhorst, why would that be the case? Do you think in the past the other quarterbacks on other teams were getting forewarning of what might be shown that week on Hard Knocks? I'd guess not.
See, that's probably the correct opinion, Joshy.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's get to madness a little bit.
Brother, it's been mad.
Yeah.
Little underwhelming, honestly.
Not a ton of upsets. McNeese was the big one yesterday.
Yep. My guy, Amir.
Your guy, Amir, who you called last week. Last Friday, we talked about who could be the cult heroes of March Madness, and Amir Khan, who is the student manager of McNeese. The Cowboys are rolling. They beat the Clemson Tigers, who I had in at least the Elite Eight in every one of my brackets. So not a hot start for old Stroufy. I got a text from Will last night. I don't know, what was that, about 6, 7 o'clock?
Yeah, it wasn't that late. I think before the last slate of games started.
Yeah. And you said, I keep refreshing the ESPN Wisconsin Bracket Challenge, and you are still in dead last. I was in dead last place.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been bad. Now, my approach to building a bracket is simply fading the public and using betting odds to determine who's more likely or not to advance. So I really have no opinions when it actually comes down to, oh, that was good or that was bad. I just pick based on, because they tell you on ESPN, like 80% of people are picking this upset. Yep. Guess what? I'm picking the other team.
Yeah, I did that with Michigan and UC San Diego quite a bit.
Yes.
I came off that take a little bit. I was initially big on UC San Diego, and they made it interesting. I mean, Michigan almost wanted to give that game away, but Michigan able to hold on and advance to the round of 32. The other big upset that's being predicted, that game is tipping off right now, Colorado State over Memphis. Now, Tyrese Hunter for Memphis, who's a Wisconsin guy, is not playing. Why'd you just fist bump? Everything okay?
That was me being mad.
What's going on?
I have a bet here that seems to be, it would have been 10 to win 134, and I'm going to hit every leg but one. That's a frustrating one.
Sorry to hear that, buddy.
Yeah.
That was a really weak reaction, too. He just think it might have been something good, even.
Yeah, it looked good. It looked like you were happy.
I was going to hit the table, then I realized that you'd hear it, and
it would become a thing. But then it actually became a thing anyway. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, I follow.
Yeah.
So it really hasn't been as chaotic as we typically are used to. Now maybe that's where today comes in. Because reminder, we still have 16 games to play today. As the first 4 have now tipped off of the day. So 12 games still to tip off later once we are done being live here. Wisconsin got a win yesterday over Montana. It was a wire-to-wire win for the Badgers. Maybe not as much of a blowout as some would have liked to see, as Montana was able to keep it pretty interesting. They ultimately covered at the end of the game, which was what, 16.5, 17.5, somewhere in there?
It closed at 16.5.
And they won by what, 17, 18?
I believe it was 17.
Yeah, I mean, it was close. So, but nonetheless, Badgers win. They beat Montana. They survived. They advanced. They're on to the round of 32 for the first time in 3 years, excuse me, which is great. Now, all eyes are on this BYU matchup tomorrow night out in Denver. BYU looked really good against VCU. They are a team that knows how to score the basketball. They can shoot the three ball. The good news is, as we acknowledged with their draw in this little bracket, pot of 4, is there's not a dominant big. BYU doesn't have a dominant big, but they are a good basketball team. They can run. And, as March Madness is, you don't have to go as deep. So the good news is you can use your guys. You can use your Blackwells. You can use your Tanjays for the entirety of the game if you need to. I think the Badgers win tomorrow. I think they get back to the Sweet 16 after a win over Montana yesterday. But this is going to be a little bit closer of a game and certainly waiting around quite a bit because you played early yesterday, play late tomorrow.
Need a Tanjay game.
Yeah.
Need a big Tanjay game. I think you're going to have to score to beat this BYU team. The spread indicates it is just a coin flip. I believe the Badgers are favored by 1.5.
Correct.
So I was impressed with Stephen Crowell. I was impressed with Blackwell. I think if you want to, and as we always talk about, this is the time the stars really show up and carry you forward. And John Tanjay 26-pointer is probably what the Badgers will need to ultimately prevail in this game. I thought it was interesting yesterday how I believe it was about midway through, towards the end of the first half, when Guard went with a full lineup change with a pretty close game against Montana. And I think it was like Blackwell and all reserves, basically. Mm-hmm. And that made me calm down a lot. I said, oh, Greg knows they're better. Yeah. And they're going to lay it on them to finish the second half and then just come out in full attack mode. And that's kind of what we saw. Tanjay wasn't particularly aggressive, and I think that was probably by design. They realized we don't need a 30-pointer from John Tanjay to win this game. Contributor, do the right thing, make the right passes, drive when you need to, but don't go out there and kill yourself in a game where we have bigger plans.
To your point, I think what's overthought a lot in March, and I would even say Grard has probably done this in the past in terms of overthinking, is you don't need to overcomplicate this. Sometimes you're just the better team, and you need to act like it. And I thought that's what we saw yesterday against Montana. There was never any sweat. Right?
No.
I don't think at any point during that game, even when Montana had it within 4 or 5 at the end of the first half, there was a thought of, Wisconsin's not going to win this game. Yeah. I never thought that once. It was, okay, they're going to win this game. They're the better team. It's not that complicated. Sometimes it's not in March, and yesterday was one of those games. Tomorrow is a game where you might have to scheme some more things up. You need a Tanjay game, to Joshy's point. So I'm intrigued to see how they attack that one tomorrow night against BYU up in Denver. Now,
also, one thing I got to say, I've lost close to $1,000. Now, that's not what I bet on it, but that's what I would have won had he made a three-pointer. It's Kamari McGee hasn't made a three-pointer in 3 games. I have to go back to the well.
Wait, really?
Yes. He is, every single game has been it's been even odds. Yes or no, 1 3-pointer. He went 0 for 4 yesterday. He did make one, though, but that was after a blocking foul got called, and he shot it like after the ball got passed to him, which was tough to see. But I got to go back to that. I can't not after losing 3 consecutive times on it.
No,
I can't not be on the winning side.
The other suggestion I would give you, and we're going to talk about Marquette in just a moment, is Chase Ross from Marquette. He's always even money on whether or not he'll make a 3. He's due for one as well. So maybe a little Kamari McGee, Chase Ross parlay is in your future.
Join me in betting on Kamari McGee tomorrow to make 1 3-pointer.
Hot or about to get hot?
Hot or about to get hot. That's what they say. Yesterday I was not hot, and Will told me that, and I got hot. So I am doing a thing. No unit shaming, please, but I will tell you my unit. I'm betting $10 a game. So I'm putting $10 on every game.
That's typically what I bet.
Well, Ben Brust unit shamed me. So.
Yeah, no, we don't do that here.
All right, we're a classy organization.
I will bet 50-20, but I do too sometimes. I'm doing this for entertainment.
I am doing a self-entertainment thing where I'm trying to see if I can use $100 and I can make it through the weekend.
You'd hope so.
Well, it was not looking good early yesterday. I was down to $20.
You were 0-8?
I think I was 1-8. Yeah,
Jeez.
Or 1-9 or something. Or I think I was 1-7 or 1-8.
Now I know why they're not putting you on the weekly wager.
Well, then I won every bet for the rest of the night. I lost $2 yesterday. That's it.
I mean,
I won 6 of my last 7 bets to end the night.
1-9 is almost more difficult than 9-1.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it was impressively bad, but that's why my brackets were so bad too.
Especially because the early games all went the predicted way.
That is correct. I had money on. No, Louisville was favored.
Yes. Okay. Fair.
Louisville was favored, so I bet on them. I bet on VCU. I bet on like a couple over-unders that I was wrong on.
Yeah, I mean, there was like every game went I heard 1,000 times over, Louisville's not going to win. The ACC sucks. They haven't played a ranked team since December.
Yep, I heard all that too, so that's why I went with Louisville.
Yeah. And you said, screw all that stuff.
Yeah, I believe in Chucky Hepburn. It's as simple as that. And then I had the under on the Wisconsin game, which hit the over with like 90 seconds left. I mean, it was just a mess to start the day. But then Will called me a vampire earlier. I was allergic to winning when the sun was out. When it got dark outside, Josh, I got hot. I got hot. So we'll see how day 2 treats me. But
were you at any point at $0 in your account because there were so many games going?
I got down to 20, I think, and I was like, ooh.
We might not make it through the first day.
I thought there was a point where I thought, okay, there's 8 games per session, right? They do a kind of a morning session, a night session. There's like a 30-minute gap between 5 o'clock and 5:50, somewhere in there, where there's no games on. Mm-hmm. And I was nervous I wasn't even going to make it to 5:50.
Yeah.
And I did, and boy, did I clean up in the 5:50 slate. So hopefully more wins to come today, but we will see as I head over to Potawatomi Sportsbook. Marquette plays New Mexico. I just want to know how we picked it on our brackets before we discuss the matchup. Will, who do you have winning on your bracket?
Picked Marquette, but I'm not confident at all. They've just been so up and down recently, and I think it's Pitino's son coaches New Mexico.
That's correct.
That just doesn't sit well with me.
Patino, by the way, nice win for him last night.
It's the year of the Patinos.
It might be. Josh, who'd you pick on your bracket?
I picked Marquette. I bet New Mexico.
Okay, so I'm the bad guy here because I both picked and bet New Mexico.
I'm feeling pretty good about Marquette then. Actually, they play when the sun goes down, so maybe not.
You might have tricked yourself.
Yeah, he's in mental gymnastics over there. Wait a minute, I don't get it now. Yeah, look, I don't know a ton about New Mexico. I've watched 2 New Mexico games all year. And by the way, I just want to point this out. I've said this a couple times this week, and it's proving me true. I've proving to be true.
Yeah.
There we go.
You saw my face?
I did. I've watched more college basketball than I ever have this year. I've watched college basketball every day for the last 3 months. It was due to be my worst bracket year and maybe my worst gambling year. Because I feel like I know so much, but yet I still know so little. So it's just gut checks. It's like, oh, I've watched them a few times. Like Akron is the example I'll use. Who do they play again today, Will? Akron plays Arizona.
Yeah, I think so.
And so that's like it's a 13-4 matchup, if I'm not mistaken. And Akron's become this hot team because they can score the crap out of the basketball. But in my head, I saw Akron play the Milwaukee Panthers at Fiserv Forum between Christmas and New Year's. They did like a holiday tip-off. I watched Akron turn the ball over 30 times and still score 95 points in a loss. So to me, they're horrible.
That's the Maction experience.
Sure was. Yeah, I think
Akron is a 14.5 dog to 3-seeded Arizona. 4-seeded, sorry.
Yeah, 13-4. 14.5, you said?
14.5.
That's a big line.
Yeah.
But I think
that's my survivor pick for the day.
Really?
On Akron?
Mm-hmm. No.
Arizona?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant Akron.
No, survivor is just simply to win. So you got to get a win.
Yeah, so I'm in one of those pools for the first time ever this year, but it's just 1 per round, and then you can never pick them again.
Oh, ours is 1 per day.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a better idea.
Yep. And I was kicking myself because I originally had clicked Gonzaga as a 8-9 seed. Probably not going to pick them against a 1 seed in their next matchup.
Not. Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I've done this before. I always get too cute too early and knock myself out. I'm just going to take Wisconsin. Both of them are winners, but you'd rather have a Wisconsin, a 3 seed going into the second round than you would a Gonzaga facing a 1 seed.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, enjoy the basketball the rest of the day. Let's get to what we learned. You learn something new every day. We learn something new today. It's time now for what we learned. I forgot to send this video to Will, so I'm going to have to play it over my phone, which is not ideal. What did you just say to me?
Gracious.
All right, well, fair enough. I learned, so I went over to Fiserv today, and I just wanted to see what was going on. So right now, Iowa State and Lipscomb playing. They are approaching half. Iowa State leading Lipscomb by 16 with just a couple of seconds left in the first half.
Covering.
They are indeed. Late minute. Oh, that's an air ball. Oof. Shot clock violation with 1.9 seconds left. Yikes. So I was interviewing fans that came in from all over the country here to Milwaukee just to talk about, oh, how's Milwaukee been? What are you doing? How much you drinking? Right? That's kind of, we're a big drinking city. So I feel like that's a pretty normal question to ask, right, Joshy? How many beers are you having today?
Yeah.
Just kind of a conversation starter.
Now, especially college kids.
So I approached a large group of Lipscomb Lipscomb students. There was I would guess probably 50 to 60 of them. It was a huge group. So I just walked right over to them and I said, hey, can I talk to you for ESPN Milwaukee? And their immediate response, Joshy, was screaming, yeah, this whole group. So I'm like, I have no idea who I'm interviewing, let alone what I'm interviewing or what I am going to ask. A group of 60 individuals screaming at me. So I pulled one guy aside and I said, hey, how much you drinking today? Hopefully this works. Take a listen off my phone.
How many beers are we drinking today? 0. We're a Christian school.
0. We're a Christian school.
I didn't know Christianity preached lying. I missed that passage in the Bible.
That was a good line. It was well done by you, Joshy. So I was thrown off for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was asking a different kid this.
Yeah.
And a different kid bursted in.
That's
a war.
Had he play.
Yeah, he's saving himself, right? He's saving his friend. My interpretation when I walked up to them was, this is a bunch of drunk kids.
Yes.
And then they told me they don't drink.
Yes.
So are they just weird?
They're liars.
Okay, got it.
Uh-huh. Now, BYU, you would have an actual case for because that is against the... It's not illegal to drink.
It's just against the
as
religion.
a Christian.
Right. No, yeah, not at all.
Yeah, no. It is... Their campus is dry, so they're not allowed to drink while on campus for school.
But they're not in Nashville, Tennessee anymore.
They are not on the Lipscomb campus, so it would not matter if they are or not. But I would bet there are probably some rules within that university, much like, what Packer was it that got kicked out for making love to his girlfriend?
Making love.
And getting caught for it?
Why couldn't you just say having relations?
He's a cordial guy.
Yeah.
Making love. Joshy doesn't have sex. He makes love, baby.
Making whoopee. Maybe it was Aaron Jones, but got kicked
He went
out
to
of school.
UTEP. Yeah, I don't know that was him.
Got kicked out of one of the...
Was it Jamal Williams?
It could have been.
Because he went to BYU.
Yes, and there was nothing... It was nothing legal trouble. It was nothing actual legal that happened. It was just consensual relations with a girlfriend, and that is not allowed on campus or of their athletes. I would imagine there's probably something like that for Lipscomb.
Oh, you're right. Jamal Williams left BYU in 2015 after an honor code violation stemming from having a female guest in his room and accepted the penalty of sitting out a season, but he chose to remain at BYU and finish his career there. Wow. Mm-hmm. He is BYU's all-time leading rusher.
I thought he got kicked out, so I had that wrong. He just got suspended for an entire year. Honor code violation. No chicks in the room.
John Eric Sullivan, director of college scouting, said, quote, I think it says something about him. He could have gone anywhere he wanted to transfer. The fact that he came back there, I think it tells you about his intestinal fortitude and what he's made up of. Wow. I guess I didn't know that. He went to a rehab center.
Yeah. So I would imagine it's probably something like that. I have a friend's sister who attended a similar university, and they weren't even allowed to on campus have R-rated movies, and there were punishments that came with them. So I would gather that if your college found out that you were out drinking brewskis, you would face some issues.
So heady play by this kid.
Yes. Now, there's a really easy way to tell if people are drinking. I can always, especially when you're sober, could you smell booze?
We were outside. It was windy, so no, I couldn't. There was no active smell of it.
Yeah. Interesting. They could. Hey, I could be wrong, and they were just having some pops, meaning literal pop.
Yep.
Coca-Colas, things of that nature. But I mean, the way they sounded like
They were just fired up for basketball games.
They also might have just been under the age of 21 and not wanted to admit on camera
Great point.
that they were drinking.
Great point.
Okay, also a good point. I guess I didn't know Lipscomb was a Christian university until today.
Either did I.
I didn't do my research. That's bad on me.
Yeah.
I'm not a journalism. Or I'm not exactly.
I'm not a journalism. I learned something.
What do you got?
The Green Bay Packers are going to be doing a dive bar experience at the 2025 NFL Draft coming up here in just about a month from now. They will not be serving beer or alcohol at all.
Okay, that kind of takes away from the dive bar experience.
Strike one.
What about bar dice?
They will have pull tabs.
Okay.
They will have shake of the day.
Okay.
I don't know if they specified bar dice or not, because usually
What's the point of bar dice if you can't take shots?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like win prizes, I guess, and you're just like, but like, what is someone's job? To stand at a bar and hand away prizes and play
Dice?
bar dice? Yeah.
I mean, there's worse jobs in the world if there is a job
certainly.
like that. Yeah.
So I understand why they're doing it. I think it is a miss if you're not going to actually just make it a bar. And also, the whole thing about a dive bar is nobody opens a bar and goes, this is going to be, well, maybe they do now. For the longest time, people didn't open a bar and go, this is going to be a divey place. It's going to smell a little weird. It's going to have stuff falling off the walls.
That was definitely not the intention.
Right. But those are the bars I prefer to be in.
Agreed.
I much prefer a dive bar than some shiny. And a lot of places you see it now happening is we are going to build a new fancy bar, but we're going to make it look like a dive bar, and it's not going to have the right vibe. It's not going to have the right people there. As important as the faint smell of stale beer and cigarettes are for a dive bar, it's also the patrons. If you don't have some guy at the bar just staring down a Miller Lite, not saying a word to anyone else, and a shot glass in front of him that just gets periodically filled as he feels necessary, it's not a dive bar. So I get why they're doing it. It is cool to have the pull tabs, do that sort of stuff, because I'm sure that is going to be an experience for many people. But if you really want to, just go to Kroll's.
It's literally across the street.
Right.
It's not divey by any means, but I mean, it's divier than this.
Yes and no. I think the fact that it's like a restaurant but the bar of Kroll's, pretty divey.
Little divey, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Curls on the east side is pretty divey.
It's by no means like modern, up to date, and
Oh, no, it's not. They have not renovated since the 1980s. That's correct.
modernity is the antithesis of dive bars.
All right, Josh said antithesis, which means I need to end the show.
You don't know what antithesis is?
No, I do. I'm just saying it's a big word for
Will,
Friday.
can you define
No
antithesis?
shot. No shot.
It's like the opposite of what you're looking for.
Thank you. Learned something. That's what I learned. That's my what did I learn today?
What is the word?
Antithesis, I think. Antithesis?
Antithesis.
Yeah, but it is spelled antithesis.
If at any point during KBN you get asked to speak on air, I need you to use the word antithesis.
Ooh, good
All right,
idea,
wait,
actually.
what does it mean again?
It's like the opposite of what you're looking
Let's
for.
look up the actual definition, but Strouf is right. It is the opposite is the easiest way to
So-
explain it.
It's the antithesis. So, like,
If I was going on the Vanderbilt St. Mary's game and I wanted Vanderbilt, I'd say St. Mary's is the antithesis to this game.
antithesis of what you were looking for.
Yes.
Yes. Or what you
I'm
were
actually
cheering for.
surprised here. They use the word opposite in it. A person or thing that is the direct opposite of someone or something else.
Hello, genius.
So Strouf is the antithesis of Joshy
Strouf is the antithesis of a smart person.
in some ways. Okay.
Oh, that's
That
not
was
true.
low.
I'm a genius. We said it at the top of the show. I'll say it now as we wrap up the show. I'm a freaking genius. All right, good hanging. We'll be back with you Monday. Hunter will rejoin us Monday, as will our normal rundown on the video side. A reminder, you can subscribe to Mr. Relevant, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy the hoops. We'll talk a little NFL and takeaways from the first weekend of March Madness. Coming up on Monday's show. Thanks to Will for filling in for Hunt Diggity Dog today. Nice job, Will. You're doing great, pal.
Appreciate that.
C+ job.
Call
right.
Josh little bro.
What's up, little bro?
Freak.
Talk to you Monday. Peace.